So welcome everybody to Kristen Clark Unmasked. And with me today is Cherilyn Jones. And a while ago, I had done when I first was starting my podcast, I did one with Cherilyn. And it was right at the time when I was having issues with Anchor and our recording was fabulous, but it was all over the place. So I'm so excited to step into it from this aspect and from this platform. And I'm so excited. Number one,
Sure.
because you cut your hair.
Oh,
and
so much. 20 inches I donated. So much hair.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You know, you guys that don't know Cherilyn, her hair was all the way down to her ass, just like mine. And this last weekend, I cut mine too. I took off probably about 6 to 7 inches where it stops right here. It definitely would have, I was tucking it into my pants. It was driving me up the wall. But as I was getting my hair cut, and, I said, okay, this is where I want. And it was going up and up and up. There was this, that I know you can relate. Yeah. That tightening up, that pull in here for me. And it was, and at that moment, one of the girls that had to watch was there. She had said something to me about how, I don't understand why women get so upset about cutting their hair. And I said, well, there's an identity. There's a self-identity within that. And it really has been an amazing last 3 days for me with my new hair, because I love it. It's so light. It's so easy. It's so fun to play with, but also to examine that identity, that identity within that hair, and also not wanting to let people down because so many people love my hair. There was so much in that, and there was just such a wonderful examination. And I was wondering if you found that.
Well, for me, it was this, it wasn't even, I hadn't been thinking about it. It wasn't like, oh, I'm thinking about cutting my hair off. It was this like, this insatiable desire happened. I went to visit Myra in Florida, and I just got there and I said, I have to cut my hair. Like it has to go now. Like it was just this like such a palpable, strong, burning desire. There was nothing. And I had to get it cut twice, because the first time she wouldn't cut it to the length that I want. And it's actually already grown about 3/4 of an inch since I got it cut. My hair grows so fast. And that's why I don't get it cut short, because I have to it's a lot of upkeep actually. As much as it's free and fun, to keep it looking good, you have to actually get it trimmed often. But, and she was too afraid. She was too afraid to cut it like the way I wanted. So I got 15 inches cut, and then I got another 5.5 inches cut the second time to get it to where I wanted. And it was just, she was just too uncomfortable with the idea. She thought I would freak out. And I was like, no, but we ran out of time, so she couldn't finish the job. So I actually had to get it cut twice. But when she did the first one, she's like, okay, this is as comfortable as and she did the ponytail and the for the donation. But the identity of it, I have always looked at my hair as an extension of me, like an antenna, like my intuition. I feel like it helps me with my intuition. And so there was a thought that I thought, I wonder if that's going to affect anything. And to be honest, I actually feel like it's increased my intuition. And something that, Master Co, one of my teachers in pranic healing, he talks about the idea, like the reason why monks shave their head is because your energy is stored in your hair, right? And so they say like a strand of hair is like 3,000 years of worry or fear, and I never really resonated with that. But I will say, I do feel completely different after cutting my hair. I do feel like all of this, it was like a shedding. It feels like a complete release. So I don't know whether that's, accurate energetically, but I do feel completely different. And so there is a different identity with me for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. When I saw your picture, and I'd seen it after, when I just was like, I got to reach out to Cherilyn, and I clicked on your picture and I saw you'd cut your hair. I went, oh, I really need to talk to her. Because it really, there is so much wrapped up in our hair that we don't realize. And I remember when Michael Beckwith cut his hair, he, I don't know if you remember, but he used to have the dread. Oh yeah.
That's his identity. Yeah.
You talk about identity. In fact, a lot of his congregation was up in arms over it. They were unhappy. Mm-hmm. And, and I saw this, and he was so great about, he's just like, I am not my hair, my hair is not who I am. But it was just such a powerful moment and a movement. And it just really got me moving deeper into, I always hear people say we are all one, and I've never resonated with that. I very much am wrapped up in my Migo. And I love my Migo. And and when I hear people bash the ego and stuff, I'm always like, God, there's if I didn't have my Migo, I wouldn't be the hiker I am. I wouldn't, like you did, get rid of 98% of my belongings and hit the road and just go. There's so much strength and power and confidence wrapped up in my Migo. And yeah, so but when I cut my hair and I realized, well, what happened if I hadn't been paying attention, she'd really gone much shorter. Who would I be? Am I a different person? And I really started resonating in with how no matter what we go through, no matter what what our world looks like, no matter whether we're little kids or big or what, we're still the same person, right? We're always the same. There's always that part of us that doesn't change. And I realized I was just playing with carrying that into other identities. How it's I see her as Kristen, that part of me that never changes, but it expanded and it was exciting. And I didn't know if you ever have.
It definitely affects, right now I'm single and dating again. And so the idea of like, I had to get a new, my dating apps. I haven't been on them because I was in a relationship for almost 7 months. So getting back into the dating field, and my old profile had all of these pictures of my hair. So I was like, oh no, like you were asking pictures, and I'm like, I don't really have many of my new looks. I kind of need to, take some more selfies or something, or have somebody, because it does, it's a different me. It's a different perspective of me. And so I definitely can relate to like feeling different and changing an identity. And because I've had long hair I haven't had my hair short since I was in my early 20s, and I'm 42 now. So it's been forever since I've had, short hair. But, I think, it's for me, it was like exciting and fun and something different. And I'm like, why didn't I do this sooner? But it was never an impulse before. So I trust, like I love what you said about Migo. I think our preferences and our likes and our expressions are what make us so unique. And this world would be so boring if we were all the same, if we didn't, if we all did our hair the same, if we all looked the same. So the fact that we have these things that make us different, and that we can change so many things, like I could dye my hair blue tomorrow. I could get tattooed up. I could do so many things to make myself look different based upon how I want to feel in the moment and the expression. And one other thing that you brought up, I think it's very synchronous. You mentioned something about anger earlier, and something today, I'm in a study group, and we're doing a Greg Braden thing. And he talked about like bio resetting and emotions and how important they are to be expressed. And this ties in with the idea of expression. So I think there was no coincidence that you mentioned that word, because I think that's a valuable aspect of our like Migo. I think our emotions are what make us who we are as well, like how we perceive things and how we feel. And I think all emotions are valid. And I think the idea of expressing them is like part of our identity. It's so
I
cool.
love that you're saying this. Oh my God, this is going to be so good. It already is. I love that you're saying this. There's a part of me, the Abraham teachings. And this is my own take. This isn't through Abraham at all. This is my own interpretation, that there's some bashing of the emotions. There's some, depression and all this is way down here, and you need to work your way up. It made me feel like we're always trying to pull away. We're always trying to pull away from certain emotions. And there was always that part of me that went, I can't have happy without anger or sadness or depression. It's a part of the same coin. And so it never clicked right. But what I ultimately moved to was that it was just a wonderful catalyst to get me to think deeper, to get me to move deeper into who I am. But also to take an emotion such as anger and create something new with it that's never been seen before, that's never been experienced before. And I really, when you were saying that, I think that is one of the essential aspects of the ego is that it can weave emotions into something we've never seen before, never experienced before, for a new emotion.
And
And it's just like, oh, I love this, you know, the expansions beyond where we are. So you go.
well, I love that you brought that up, because one of the, you know, I get, and I think that's a valid perspective, where there's so much emphasis on positive emotion, and the Abraham Hicks, I think there's a lot of people, they have the same perspective. I actually hear it differently from them. I hear that they say that negative emotion is your best friend. It's like, it's so important. And, you know, and so I get like both sides, because I tend to feel that there's this same thing where there's people are kind of dismissing their negative emotions, and they want to move up the scale so fast, and they want to, you know, always be, and that's not living. That wouldn't be life. That would be, it gets boring. It gets boring when you know, I mean, people will, it's like, I have a background in opera and conditioning, and any attention, especially negative attention, is better than no attention. And we are
Yes.
wired, if we're not, we thrive on attention, we thrive on connection, we thrive on that. And so even though people make it sound like it's this bad thing, we get a lot of secondary reinforcement from negative attention. It's not a bad thing. It's just that it's part of our wiring to be, to, you know, to understand anything, a stimulus or response. But if we're not getting any attention, and we can move energy with, you know, with constantly being in that, it feels good. Actually, there is some relief in there. There is some, you know, benefit to having it. But I think ultimately it's all good. I think having our experiences, whatever they are valid. I think every experience is a valid experience. I know most people wouldn't agree with that, because there's a lot of things like, you know, hate and war and crime, but I also think that they're necessary experiences for some souls to have the experience that they need for the theme. And I think we all are choosing at a level that sometimes we're not conscious about. And to invalidate it is, you know, for me, is kind of like invalidating, you know, in order for us to understand what it feels like to have joy, you do have to have sorrow. And in order for us to understand what it feels like to feel free, you do have to feel caged. And so while the, you know, the bad guy is necessary and helpful, and not that I would ever wish anyone to have any, you know, painful experience, or it's not that I'm promoting or agreeing or, you know, saying it's okay to be bad. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that it's valid. I'm saying that we have, life is, you know, whatever people choose at the level that they choose it is I honor. And I just, it's like honoring the divinity in you. I honor the non-divinity in you too, because it's all, you know, Abraham says it's like everything has, you know, two sides to each coin. You can't have a tails without a heads, etc. And I think we have that all within us. We all have both light and dark in us, and it's okay. It's normal and natural. And I welcome it and I embrace it.
I love that. I love it. I love it. I love it. I had a I was going through I don't even know what you would call it. I was just in another space where I was actually touching in with other people's personalities. And in that, I was able to see that everything was joy. You know, it's like what I think of joy is like, whoa, but I touched in with this murderer who had just blown a bunch of people away, had walked into a school and had shot a bunch of kids, little kids. And I was like, there can't be joy there. There can't be. And yet, as I touched in with him, where he had been just prior to that was such a dark place that going into this space of shooting and killing
Yeah.
was joy for him. And I've never told anybody this. So this is the first time this has come out, because I was always like, oh God, I can't tell anybody this, but it was joy. There was this beautiful release. And it made me realize that yeah,
Yeah.
it made me realize that we naturally are always following our joy. We don't have to try. It's built in, it's hardwired. We do it all the time. And what looks like joy to one person is, you know, looks completely different to another. And so we'll look at somebody and say, oh, you're in depression. And when actually they're in joy, they are actually in their level of joy. They've just moved up to, in this now moment, they've just moved up to what for them is joyful. And it, you know, it's this ever evolving emotion, but it was so powerful to see that It wasn't something we needed to try to do. It was something that is naturally built in, naturally hardwired in. And, in that moment, I was like going, yeah, but what about the parents of these children that just died and how they feel horrible? And it was in the expansion into the universe in that moment of the moment they felt that deep, horrible sadness was actually more joyful than where they were a moment before that. And how in each breath they were actually a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better, even though to anybody else it would look like heart-wrenching grief.
Mhm.
And it was just so amazing and it was so powerful. So I loved what you said there. It's huge. It's huge. And I've never felt the
Mhm.
okay to talk about that with anybody. Typically that you would do that for me.
Well, it's what you said is absolutely accurate, that we have a motivational mechanism that, and animals are the same way, that we always move towards what we believe will bring us pleasure, and we always move away what we believe will bring us pain. And so we have that built-in mechanism that we're always seeking towards, moving towards what feels better, and moving away towards, away from what doesn't feel good. So it's completely accurate. And I think kids are the best example of seeing
Oh,
this unfiltered. They want what they want when they want it, and there's no logical, they don't need to give a reason. They just want it, like, they don't ask me why. So they're good teachers. And I think animals are also very good teachers in the aspect that they aren't, where they don't have the filters of like not enough, or I need to, obligation or guilt, all the things that sometimes we add into the beliefs about what we believe, what we, kind of thing. But what you said is accurate. We naturally have a tendency to move towards better feeling, what we need, what works for us. It's built into us, a survival mechanism, actually.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to talk about this lion behind you because it's crazy. I don't know if anybody else who's watching this is seeing what I'm seeing, but the lion behind Cherilyn moves. It's moving, especially right between the eyes where the third eye would. It's constantly going out and in as if there's a window open behind this. And this is a fabric that's moving and coming. And that's exactly what it looks like to me. And of course it stopped now that I'm talking about it. But
Interesting. I wasn't catching it. I am petting this pug.
of course you are.
So I don't know if there's any movement sometimes from my arm, but just holding him and giving him a little pet. But it's funny because I felt so inspired to put him up, and this is the first time I put him up for anything. So I love that you're getting this experience. And as we were sharing just briefly before, the power of this photo at capturing the essence of this lion, it's so resonant. And I think there's a reason why there's resonance there. So tell me how it makes you feel.
Oh, exceptionally powerful. I have on my phone, when the minute I turn it on, there's a picture of the lion.
I love
Ah,
it.
and it says, take a deep breath and remember who the fuck you are. And
Does that
but
not
below
capture the
it,
essence of this? Yeah.
yeah, but below it in yellow is I've put in expect excellence. And I love that. I love just stepping into my everyday, just not so much expecting excellence, knowing the excellence of my world and what I consider to be excellent, which every day, changes.
Sure.
And I just, there's my very, very first spirit guide was that face, that lion,
Wow.
way back in 2012. I
Wow.
can't even remember his name.
That's
And
cool.
oh my God, it's such a powerful, but it's all in those eyes. It's all in that calm confidence, that quiet confidence that, it's just pure power without needing to push it out, without needing anybody to say, wow, I know this about you. It's just so
Yeah.
present and there. And I love it.
You're reminding me of a course that I did for some personal clients. And part of that course, I did the slide where basically it was what you're saying is like the lion doesn't need to explain, like the lion doesn't care what anyone thinks. The lion's going to be a lion. The eagle is going to soar, doesn't question the fact that it soars and shouldn't, and doesn't, ask permission to soar. It just soars, right? So the lion bees, the eagle soars, like we all can just be and be ourselves fully and freely. And that's part of we're going to come full circle with the idea of expression, honoring our expression, honoring authentically, like what's coming up for us, the emotions, the thoughts, the ideas, the feelings, the excitements, the preferences, the desires, the idea of knowing, like that feeling of knowing and expect it, like you said, expect that idea of expectation. That's such a powerful state of being. That's such a powerful, feels like what this lion is, like that, like just deep knowing. It's so powerful and it feels so good. That's what this lion represents to me.
I love that. It also feels a lot like, it's like the saying, take a deep breath, and it's not remember who you are, it's remember who the fuck you are, because you need that emphasis in there, because with that face behind you, there's no bullshit going to be tolerated. There's no wibble wobble and playing small going to be tolerated. It's, you are this big, now go be it. And I love it. I love that, because we all can use that. We can all, need every once in a while that, somebody looking at you and going, how come you don't see how powerful you are? What is, now knock it off. Now go do it, because you do.
It's part of the contrast. Sometimes we got to forget so we can remember, because if we always know it, it doesn't feel as powerful. That energy doesn't flow as strongly when it's this like idea of like knowing it even further and deeper and more. It's the expanded knowingness. It's the expanded experience. It's the fuller feeling of it, the fuller experience of it. So it's absolutely true that it's good to be reminded. It's good to know sometimes, like, not feeling like a lion today. and then pick yourself up, have your day, do what you need to do, and then like maybe in a week you'll feel like a lion. It's okay. Tomorrow might be another day, but to remember that, the remembering feels so good, and to have somebody see it and then be a mirror for you, that's the best, because life is meant to be shared, and experiences like that. I think that's what having relationships and friends and strangers and animals and spirit guides and angels are there to, like, add that level of fulfillment, add that reminder, sometimes give you that wink.
Yeah, yes, the winks. I love those universal winks. And one of the things I really want to discuss with you is manifestation and premonition. I know, and I knew you would, because you're such a powerful law of attraction, or you ooze it. You ooze that knowledge, that knowing on such a deep level. And for me to know that I've never woken up and not existed, never, right? Never woken up and not existed. And knowing that that's law of attraction at its finest. That's law of attraction on autopilot. I wake up, I open my eye. Before I open my eyes, I know my wall's going to be over here. I know my door's over there. I know the window's over there, and boom, wake up and there it is. And that's law of attraction at its autopilot finest. And so I was stepping into, well, what if it's premonition? And can it be both? And is there something so much bigger here that we're going to find? As in, like, if my eyes were closed and I was just listening to you, I could pretend I was actually sitting there in the room with you and your pugs. And I could really go there. In fact, I could go there so much I kind of blur the lines of reality. But there's a deeper me. There's a deeper aspect of me that knows, that just knows, not through forcing or anything, but just quietly knows that when I'm going to open my eyes, I'm going to be here. And is that something maybe you should be paying more attention to, playing with more? Obviously, it's inviting me to play, so it is. And I'm like, ooh, there's the manifestation but it's not manifestation because it's already created. It's already there in a solid knowing. Whereas manifestation feels like I'm going to try and I'm going to have hope, but I don't know, you know? Anyway, go
That's
girl, go.
that so that's that state of being of that feeling of expectation of knowing, so with such certainty, like completely, it's this like resolve, right? Like I know every iota of my being knows with such strong certainty. That is a completely different essence than I'm wanting to manifest this. Because when you're saying I'm using the law of attraction, or I'm working with the law of attraction, I don't discount that. I'm not invalidating it, but that means that it's not, you're already doing it, and you're not aware as much as you could be, and that's okay. It's part of the fun, like, the discovery of it. But when you are clear and you know that every single thought, every single aspect of your essence is constantly creating this reality, constantly reflected back to you. You are such a powerful being. If we only had, I mean, we don't even know, like, and it's like 99.9999999. It's like we're like 1.1
Point zero 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 zero
Yes,
one.
like there's just so many. If we only could grasp a little bit, and I feel like the more that I learn, the more I realize I don't know. Seriously, the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know. And what's so interesting about this example that you're talking about, opening your eyes and expecting the room, I have had the most insane experiences where my room has changed, where I just had a really fun, inspired experience with Abram, which is channeled by Tom Massari. And Tom Massari is the guy that taught Daryl Anka how to channel like 40 years ago. And it synchronistically came through across my email, and so I did a session with him, very inspired. And that was he's very playful, by the way. And he said, what if I were to tell you that you're becoming like you're aware that you're dreaming in your wake state, like you're lucid in your wake state, understanding that it's all a dream. And I was like, yep, that would be right. And he was like, but I didn't tell you. And I was like, you don't have to. I'm experiencing it. And so he said, I said, I see shifts, and I see things that are, manifesting right in front of my eyes out of complete thin air. Things are de-manifesting right in front of my eyes. How can, like, I want this more. It's really fun. Like, what can I do? And because Bashar's answer to me is always just keep acting on your excitement, more will be revealed. And I'm just like, I'm over that, Bashar. Come on. More. And so Abram gave me this really cool, fun meditation. He just said, sit quietly, just with your spine straight. You don't need to go into a meditative state, and look around the room, and just something that catches your eyes. Just imagine it in your mind's eye, something a little different. So for example, take the doorknob of a cabinet and move it to the other side, something just very slight. And so I did that. And then I just kind of breathed, and then I imagined that door handle, and then I opened my eyes, and it wasn't the handle that changed. It was the entire wall of my place changed. It opened up, it expanded, it got bigger, and it just lasted it was a blip, just
Yes.
enough for me to notice it. And then it went back, and I was like, whoa. But things like that have been happening. To be able to do it intentionally is a whole nother thing. So the fact that you mentioned your room, I was like, what if you open your eyes and it's not the same?
I know.
Because that's really fun too. And so I think there's another, for me right now, this other level is being aware of that we're, the way that it's been shown to me like a movie strip. We're projecting our consciousness through these frames billions of times per second. And really we have the ability to cut and paste, to change the frames, to, we're creating our past and our now. We're creating, like, our now is all we have. So our whole, discovery of that and how we can change it and rewrite things, it's so powerful. But being able in the moment to have that awareness and actually see the changes is, for me, very exciting and very fun. So
Oh my gosh,
that's
yes.
where the level of knowing. So I've manifested that I manifested the lifestyle, manifested the car, the wealth, the relationships, all the things that we go through when we first get excited about manifesting. Been there, done that, and it's great. And I'm not discounting any of it, trust me. But what's the most exciting for me right now is to know myself as a creator and also just be able to reflect that back to other people so they feel their power. Like just to be able, with healing or premonition, like you said, premonition, that's a fun topic because I think we are getting we are tapping into energy, and it is part of like expanding our consciousness, is being able to see and know outcomes that are, like being able to make a choice to switch directions or stay in line with this current trajectory that you're on. It's very fun to have a very deliberate and intentional role in that. So if that's the best way to explain it, I don't know how else to explain it. To be really involved in it to a level that you still get surprised and delighted. You still have your non-physical peeps that are throwing all kinds of fun and magic and whimsical things your way, but that you get to be in on it as well. That's for me what manifestation is about right now.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I have worked very, very much about how, we all know the now is the now. And, and what I was always thinking, like, okay, so what are these memories that I have? I know they're creations, but what are they? And then I realized no matter where I am in my now, whatever I'm considering, whatever I'm thinking, my memories in that moment are simply supporting. They're just simply supporting. If I'm feeling like, oh, I need to be angry or whatever, I'm going to pull up memories to help support that. And always, always, always my memories, which are just thoughts, as we know, they're just thoughts, are always supporting my now, and then playing with that, then having that information and playing.
Yeah.
And I was, you know who Roxanne is, Roxanne Swinehart. And, when I very, very first met her and she was teaching me about the now, which took like a blip of a second. It was so funny. She goes, okay, because we were talking about psychic stuff, and she goes, well, let me play with you with that. She goes, so what I'm saying is when you were 5 years old, you used to have a green bike that had a banana seat and it had tassels off and she was describing it. And I was like, oh, how did you know that? And she goes, okay, well, what? I know. She goes, what will really blow you away is that bike never existed until I just mentioned it. And I just suggested it to you. And I just went, of course, my whole world blew up in that moment. And yeah, I've never been able to go back. Right. But I love that. I love knowing, because last time you and I had a podcast, you had mentioned about changing your past, about, rewriting your past, and how we actually do that billions of times in a second, and without knowing it. And what would it be like to do it on purpose? Mm-hmm. And so I was like going, oh yeah, Cherilyn and I need to talk about this.
That's another, and again, powerful, that will, when you're able to see the tangible ramifications of rewriting a past, it's like one of the most empowering feelings, knowing that you can shift anything. If you can go, because people are so attached to their past, like it's, it happened, I have a memory of it, it's like, this happened. And while that's, again, not invalidating it, is it something that you want to keep happening? Do you want to keep relitigating it? Is it a past that works for you? And there are many things that, I say, many things that happened to me that I wouldn't change for a heartbeat, because they made me who I am today, and they really, really helped. But there are some aspects of it that I don't really need to keep, that don't feel so good. And rewriting those, if I would have preferred it to go another way and I can rewrite it in my mind and it feels better, well, of course, that's a gift I'm going to give to myself. If it feels good, it's like, that motivational mechanism, we're always going to move towards what. And so if I have something that's hanging me up and causing me to have a memory of something that's causing trauma, or actually affecting my health because it's putting me in a stress, it's causing, like cortisone and all these things that I know that aren't good for my body in the now moment, which from a past memory, right? So you're like, again, how is it affecting your now moment? And that for me is an empowering thing to know, that can shift anything just with your imagination, that you can recreate the story, you can tell it any way that you want. And it's really about your ability to receive it, to allow it, to believe it, to know it, to expect it.
Receiving, so huge. So go a little deeper into this. How like if somebody was saying, okay, I've always been heavy my whole life. I've always been heavy. I've always had a problem with weight, and they want to rewrite that past. How would you
So for me, I think it's valuable because there is an essence of like the event that created that belief, and it's
Yeah.
helpful to go back to that original moment. And your mind is so it's not it's being received, so it's not really, you're just a transmitter and receiver. So, and you have this amazing ability to connect and receive insights and inspirations. And so, just asking the question, it's a discovery of like, when was the first time that you can recall that you had that belief? And then usually you're going to get a prompt. Oh, and then as you have that prompt, then it's going to, there's a story you create around that event or that, right? So it's just a process of asking the right questions, giving and making it a fun thing. For me, it's like our heart is so wise and so amazing and has so much knowledge and wisdom that's being transmitted. And so just connecting to the heart, just start asking the questions. When was the first time? How did I come up with that belief anyways? Whose was it? Was it mine? Did I where did that belief come from? And is it serving me? Is it serving me? And maybe it is, because sometimes we have beliefs about that, that, like I said, we get secondary gain, especially with beliefs around, if it's very reinforcing the idea of eating food, or like our beliefs around food. And so there's so many sub beliefs that can go. But ultimately, the core belief is, when was the first time I can recall having this belief? And then from there, when you get the awareness, well, that makes sense. It's like an aha. You're like, well, that, of course, that makes sense that I have that belief, because when I'll never forget, because I have a story related to this. I grew up with older brothers that loved to tease the shit out of me and beat me up, and they thought it was awesome. And part of the way that they showed love was teasing me. They wanted to make me tough. They wanted to protect me. But, like, I'm a girl. So I remember my brother grabbing my thigh, and I was so skinny. I was so skinny. And he looked at me and he was like, "You're so fat." And I was like, "Oh, I'm fat. Oh my God. When did I get fat?" I was like, and of course, like the bull, like the total, I'm just going to protect myself. Like, like I'm kicking him and I'm like, "Stop it." And I don't lead on that it affected me, but it so affected me. And then I started to get like self-conscious. And then all of a sudden I'm like, "Oh my God, and it created this whole ripple effect. Like, it really affected me. And it wasn't until I think it was like maybe 17, 18 year. I don't remember. I was 19. I remember my boyfriend, he was like, I said something about like, "Oh gosh, this dress for prom," or I don't remember what the occasion was. And he was like, "You're not fat. Like, that's just crazy. Who told you that?" And I was like, "My brother." And I was like, I knew my brother told me I was fat. And right then he was just like, and he had this beautiful conversation. It was very loving, but it made me realize that was, first of all, he was teasing. Second of all, only you get to decide what beliefs you have about your body, and what feels better. Do you feel good calling yourself fat? Does that feel good? And I was like, no. And he's like, well, then stop. And I'm like, huh. And then after that, it was like, oh, wow, what, like, so much weight. But I'm thankful that I had a boyfriend that I was like, in the moment, like, what, are you crazy? Like,
Yeah.
why would you say that? So I think it's just the ability to have the awareness of where it came from, and then make a decision. What is it that I would prefer to believe? And then now you got to feed that belief, because thoughts are things. When we have a thought about something and we feed it lots of energy, that's how it becomes a belief. It's just a thought that has a ton of energy, and we only feed it with our energy by our attention. That's where energy goes, is because where your attention is flowing, right? Where that's the way it goes. Everywhere you put your attention is where you put your energy. So just making a new decision about where you want to put your energy and putting it there, that like as often as you can. That's for me how you rewrite, and how you actually not just like do it and say, okay, I'm making an attempt. You actually have to take the time to feed that belief and to feed that thought form, so that it's now neural connections in your brain. If you want to go to the science side, it's just like that. When you do something over and over, even if you do it in your imagination, you can do, you're right-handed, but then you start brushing your teeth with your left hand, and then writing with you're creating new neural connections, and now it's becoming easier and easier, and it becomes a habit. That's what a belief is. It's a habit of thought. So it's the same process, just different language. And I think that it's one of the most empowering things you can do, because when you feel, when you feel like something is weighing you down, or you feel like you have a belief and it's causing, stress, that, like, again, the stress emotions, and then you have a way to shift it, and then you feel the lightness of it, and then you feel the fulfillment of it, and then you feel the strength of it and the power, and it takes momentum. It's like anything that you want to believe, you can put any powerful belief that you want into your subconscious, into your mind, into your energy field. And it feels really good to do it. Why
It's
not?
amazing.
Why
It
not?
is, yeah, it is so amazing. And I keep going back to what I did with grief with my dog. Did I tell you about that?
Mhm.
Yeah. You know, to take an emotion.
Or I saw you talk about it on one of your podcasts. I don't know if you told
Yeah.
me. Sorry, but I
Yeah.
did.
Oh, that's okay. Um, it's,
Which
of
version?
all things to take on to change, grief. Holy cow. And it wasn't something I intentionally did. It just happened. It was almost like I was the observer and it was happening. It was just like, I'm going to be putting my dog down. And for, as long as I've owned her, I was always like fantasize about the day I have to put her down, and right off the bat, no, can't go there, can't go there, can't go there. And when it came time to release her, there was this thing that came up that said, I'm not doing grief like I've done with my other animals. I refuse. It wasn't a denial of grief. It was, there's something different here, and I'm going to
Yep.
explore that. And I'm going to honor my dog this way, because I knew that if I could let her go with excitement and joy and celebratory type feelings, it would make her transition easier, number one, but it would also create a whole new world, a whole new relationship with that world, the world of grief, the world of loss, the world of all of that. There would be no loss. There would be, it's like, we play with our loved ones aren't gone, they're here, non-physicals right here, we play with all that. But it took it to a whole different level. It took it to and it was, the thing about it is, it was the effortlessness in it. The I didn't do it intentionally. I didn't go into it with thought and planning and writing it down. And the minute I made that decision, there was such a hell yes about it, that every time grief did try to come up, if every time the old knee-jerk reaction of how I reacted with my last dog when I put her down and everything kept coming back around, there was a no. It was a definite denial. It was a definite turning away and saying, no, I will not do that. To the point to where when I was sitting there with the vet and I'm sitting there with my dog in my lap and she's in the process of putting her down, it wasn't easy. There definitely was it almost felt like a ripping, like grief was ripping at me. And I was sitting there going, no, this is not how I'm going to do it this time. And the poor doctor, she'd known me from when I worked in veterinary and everything. And the minute my dog's heart stopped, she got up and walked right out. And I was like, and I did have a little bit of, and I grabbed some tissue, and there was not an allowing going on at all. There was a definite no.
Resolve.
I will not do it this time. Yeah. And it was just, there was an exploration. It was just a total exploration. And there was these, doubtful thoughts of, am I denying myself grief? Am I screwing up? But there was also the bigger feeling of, I don't care. This is where I am honoring me and I am honoring her, and I don't care what anybody else thinks. And oh my God, Cherilyn, through that whole experience, oh my God, my whole world, the possibility, it was like I went to a whole new planet. I literally, it was a huge shift. I was like going, ooh, what other thing can I deny? What other thing can I say no to? And I haven't felt that naturalness yet, in other things, but to know that it's there, and that when it's ready, it's natural. There's this naturalness to it. There is a forced, but there's a naturalness.
There's a lot to be said about all this that you're saying. There is, again, back to thoughts are things. Like, there is its own consciousness of the idea of what you're talking about. Like, grief has its own consciousness like all of those states of being have their own energy behind them. So when you connected to that, when it was like, it feels like almost like, when you said the word exploration, it's like you were curious almost. That essence of being curious, oh, it's an allowing state. It allows so much to come in. And I think that's what was required to have that shift, because that essence, when you came in, you had that resolve, like, no, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to do the traditional grief thing that I've done before. I've already done, let's try something new. And it was that curiosity that it kind of allowed it to come through the back door, so to speak, where you said I was the observer. I kind of just took a step back, and it was like, whoa, what else is possible with this new state of being, this new exploration, this new curiosity. I think we don't realize that, I mean, so many masterful teachers have said this through the ages about your state of being dictates the earth you're on, the version of earth you're on, the version of you that you're getting years that are coming back to you. But it's the idea that, like, that essence that you're emanating is what's going to allow what's next to come in. And so for you, that was a beautiful gift that you gave yourself. And I'm not, again, invalidating other people's experiences, because all of the choices are so valid, all of them.
Yeah.
And you have what you need to have for you. And there's no, like, again, the idea of judgment, where we have this like preconceived ideas of what things should be or what they should look like. Let those all go out the window.
Please.
There's just really, you can't make this up, and you don't want to. That's why I think the idea of curiosity, and kids are so good at that. They're so curious. They're so, like, frisky about, like, ooh, and toddlers putting everything in their mouth and like wanting to touch and grab, and and puppies do the same thing, and baby monkeys. Oh my gosh, if you've ever been around a baby monkey, they just grab everything all the time. But there is an advantage in that idea of curiosity and discovery and playfulness and being open. It's that receptivity. When you're open to a new experience, it can come in. But if you have this like belief about the way it should look or what other people should expect from you, then you kind of, that's the filter you're going to get. That's the mirror. So I think what you did was beautiful. I think it's something I like to do more often. I want to do more often, is have more curiosity about, like, what's another way I could experience this? What's another way I could do this specific event or this thing that I have to do? What's another fun way I could take out the trash? How can I give me some good juju here? What's something else fun I'm not a huge fan of taking out the trash, but I do like a clean smelling house. So how can I make this more fun? Like, give me some, good stuff. And boy, when I asked that question, let me just tell you, on the way to the trash can, the conversations that I have make taking out the trash the most fun thing ever, because of the rendezvous or the animals. So it's that essence of being curious and open and receptive that allows things like that experience you had to come in. And I think that's a huge testament to where you are and what you're all about.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I love this. So tell me what's going on with you recently. What's new?
Lots of good things. I just went to Big Sur, which I mean, it's always calling me to come back there. The redwoods, the connection with nature, the magic there. It feels like one day there is like 30 years of downloads and insights and mystical experiences. It's just a phenomenal. So I've been basking in that for the last week and a half, just enjoying all the magic that happened and the serendipities and synchronicities, and excited to go back. And I'm getting really called to go to Sequoia National Park. So I haven't been there yet.
Ooh.
And
You've
yeah,
never been there?
no, I know. I know.
Just
Yeah,
wait.
that's going to happen soon. I feel it. And then a lot of excitement with whales. So there's been a lot of migration with the gray whales and humpbacks right now. So I've been getting lots of fun interactions, just walking the beach and seeing spouts and saying hi. And, I'm always saying hi to my dolphin friends, but to have whales come close to the shore has been really fun the last couple weeks. So that's been the most exciting. What else is exciting? Like, just lots of, me time and reading and like basking in nature, and my crow friends. Oh my God, I'm so in love with my crow family. They're going to have some more chicks coming soon, and I can't wait. And the nature walks that we get to do with them, like, I feel like little Snow White sometimes. I've got like crows, and then I've got like black phoebes, and I have the cats and the dogs in the neighborhood are all hanging out with us at the park. So my life is pretty exciting. I love my life. I love that I get to have magical, whimsical days every day, and fun and unique ways.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited you're going to go to Sequoia.
Yeah,
That was a very, that's a very, I would go there a lot when when I needed to just, because talk about another planet. Oh my God, when you're standing amongst those giants, I mean, we could say giant trees or whatever, but no, they're just giants. And the energy is like there's nowhere on earth that you feel that. You feel that there's a humbleness there. There's such a deep awe. Such a crazy deep awe.
yes.
But it is an energy that I don't feel anywhere. It's so powerful there. And I love that it's calling you, because and you got Kings Canyon there, right there too. And
Yeah.
that's a beautiful place to visit. But definitely the sequoias are whew.
I'll probably go do a couple, places. I definitely want to get to Sequoia, and then I'll just go venture from there and see where the inspiration takes me and how much fun I can possibly have, and rendezvous. So I'm excited about that, and I'm feeling the call to do some short road trips. That was really fun. Just being in the car. Love listening to Audible books and just like watching hawks soar over and like fun. You know how when you're flying high and you see like the funnest vehicles and the craziest license plates and like the billboards start talking to you and you're just like, what next, so just like that to me is, I live for those moments. I live for the everyday, just having fun, discoveries and adventures and stuff. So that's what I'm looking forward to. What about you? What are you looking forward to?
You know, number one, if you're coming through Ventura, you better let me know so
Okay,
you
good.
and I can.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
yes, I would love to just sit down, have some lunch with you, just some coffee, whatever.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I love how the universe just,
Mm,
it brings in, and it becomes and it goes, and it does it
yeah.
seemingly without our permission, right? And we get to be so part of it, but we also get to be surprised by it. Like you said, all those fun little surprises. And it's so much of the universe um, doing these things without our permission. And so recently I got a job at a grocery store.
Mm,
And I know. And it's like, who knew, just several months ago I was driving homeless all over the United States and seeing and doing that, and now I'm here playing this role and just enjoying it, and finding the challenges within it,
yeah.
and going, okay, how do I want to do this, how do I want to do this, how I created this whole situation. Is Do I want it to be a corporate where they don't care about anybody and they're only paying minimum wage? Or do I want to create, what do I believe? What do I expect? And how do I want to shift that? So it is so much fun to just to play, constantly playing, find the new. I love that you do that with the new.
It's a good word. I like one of my, so I get messages from my guides mostly every morning. I'm not going to say I do every morning, but pretty much I'm pretty good. And so the play, it just comes up over and over again. Actually, my image today was this toddler sitting in a cage of balls, like, the fun house balls. And it was just like a trampoline cage. It wasn't like a real cage, but the idea was, and then the message, actually, I got it right here. Sometimes I don't remember them as well.
Yay.
I review them. But the idea was that, let's see what he said, because I think this is going to tie in. So the image of the toddler in a cage of balls, sitting in a diaper, giggling, tossing balls, and laughing with a snaggletooth. That was the image. And the message was that, life can feel like you're in an arena of sorts, or sometimes even cages. Sometimes you're in a cage of balls where you're left to play and be silly and have as much fun as you can. Other times you put yourself in all kinds of cages that aren't really real. Cages are a symbol of what your beliefs hold about you. Wah, wah, wah.
Oh,
Your life and others. Sometimes you have a fear cage, a lack cage, a limitation cage, a restriction cage, an anger cage. Isn't this fun? A not good enough cage. But all these cages can be disintegrated when you realize that they aren't real, and that you could just as easily be playing upon like the cage of balls with your laughter, your silliness, and your ability to giggle at them and playfully toss the ball at them. They'll disappear as soon as you do. It says, I can't read my writing. enjoying the powerful rush of energy surge when you, it's like he was showing me like the power that you feel when you realize that they're not real and you throw a ball at them and they disappear. He says, just like be like a toddler, know it's all for your enjoyment, discovery, and interaction. Be curious and play more. And I'm like, I know, right? So good.
So
And
good.
that's been a common theme in the messages over long spans of time. Just play more. This like life, you know, it doesn't matter. We all have, you know, we all, like you're saying, I totally think that life is going to give us and put us in places that we never expected or we didn't think, you know, but it's like, how in this moment can I make the most of this? How can I just play? Like, I'm going to be, you know, like we're in this pandemic and a lot of people are like, you know, like what the heck? It's like, this is a like a kid where they can be anywhere and they can be in their environment and find things to entertain themselves. Like they can be curious and they can be playful and they can be silly and they can use their imagination. We can do the same thing. And we don't forget that, right? We're like, we can use, I mean, some of my favorite times were waiting tables when I would just know every table was a new
Yeah.
reality. every
Yes.
every customer that you encounter, every person that you, it's a new reality. I could have one table that, you know, for whatever reason left me like nothing and take it and carry it throughout my entire night. Or I could go and greet the next table and make them my best friends no matter what. Like, I don't care what's going to happen. You and I are going to just have the best time together right now. And that's a decision. It's a choice. And I think we, you know, there's just like so much room to play more with things and people and events, and just having that open curiosity of like, okay,
Yeah.
you know, like what's fun, what fun things am I going to experience today or get to see today? Like what fun things can I, and also like, how can you be that for other people, you know? And you know, when you see somebody
Yeah.
that's restricted and tight and closed off, it's because they're in pain. They're
Yeah.
probably, you know, who knows what it could be, but there is a smile, there is a look, there is a, hey, can I help you? Like, do
Yeah.
you need anything? We have the ability to have so much enrichment in our lives. And I think that it's part of just what you're doing, what you're saying is like, take a step back and be curious and observe and sit, what's available to me in this moment? What else is available to me? What else is available that I can enjoy, that I can discover, that I can explore, that I can
Yeah.
bask in, that I can, yeah, that's pretty cool. So I'm excited
And
for you. I feel
I'm
like, I think that, you know, there's so much discovery and so much opportunity and where you're at and what you're doing. And Ventura is such a cool place. I miss it. Every time I go through there, it has a special energy to it. Every time I go
oh,
there.
so much so. And you know, being up in the Big Bear Mountains, I was very isolated for
Mm,
so long. I was so isolated. And it was almost, you know, the word forest is for rest.
mm,
And so for me, it definitely was a time of just chill, relax. Yeah, take that deep breath right there, you know?
reset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then before I know it, bam, I'm back here. I'm back in the hustle and the bustle. And it's so funny how when I was in the isolation, I
Mm.
was craving that the freeway sound and the go and the very masculine energy. And then of course when I'm here, I'm craving the quiet of the forest and the peace and the, you know,
Iconic.
and just seeing all that. I know, I know. And you know, knowing I can access that at any time. But yeah, never, you want to talk about different realities. Yeah, every single person that goes through my line, and I'm in a major corporation business as far as being a checkout. I mean, like one of the biggest ones you're going to think of. And so, boom, hundreds of people a day coming through my line. And I'm just, you know, oh my gosh. And each one is vastly different. And every single one of them,
And
you're, you know, you're their undivided attention for a minute. And
yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
like, yeah, and it's like, hi, how are you doing?
Mhm.
And then there's the conversation and there's the interaction, and then they're gone, and here comes the next one.
Mhm.
And I mean, you talk about how Abraham talks about, you know,
Oh,
being in holding your joy in the chaos, and it really is, Oh my gosh. And
What a cool
it's,
environment that you've like I'm just getting all these downloads of like, wow, like the idea of the tree thing, right? So the idea that trees just be, and that they, everything they need, they expect to come to them. And so all the people, all the animals, all the energies, it's been actually scientifically proven that they can pick up energy from the people. They can actually take and like, and then they have the mycelium network that they send nutrients and information like neural networks in our brains, and they send it to other trees and other plants and things like that. But the idea that they exchange the energy exchange with every person that comes into contact, and like they have access to all this information, and the fact that you get to have that now too. Like you have all these people coming into your energy field, and that you get to have an exchange with, even if it's just a
yeah,
30-second exchange, like a 45-second, that's so powerful. What a cool creation. I'm just like excited. I'm excited for all the like possibilities of this and what it's offering to you and what you're offering to these people.
yeah, yeah. It really, yeah, definitely a co-creation for sure.
Yeah.
And it is wonderful. It's, my constant little thing I say to myself all the time is just stay in your lane.
Same.
Because yeah, my lane is busy enough. My lane has got all my attention. And if I get busy listening to what's going on behind me in that lane, or paying attention to what's going on in that lane, or paying attention to some chaotic situation going on over there because somebody tried to shoplift or whatever, I lose it. I'll screw up. I mess up.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
That's
And then
so
it
funny.
it is it and that is something I've learned in this, and I learned really quickly. And the other night, I guess we had a situation which is not more than maybe 15 feet from where I was, where there was a fight and some guy got his head bashed in and there was blood everywhere and 7 cop cars showed up and I missed it all. I'm so I'm so busy just, talking with the people and doing my thing and bagging their groceries, and the next thing you know, I hear the kid behind me is talking something about it. And I turned around and I said, "What police? There's police here?" And he goes, "How did you just miss everything that just happened right there?" And I was like, when did this happen?" He goes, "Like 10 minutes ago." And he goes, "See all that blood over there?" And I'm like going, "No." And he goes, "Let me show it to you." I'm like, "No, I don't need to see that." And he was so funny. Him and the other guy, they were just like, "How did you miss this?"
Love it.
And
Yeah.
I and
Bubble reality. Talk about it. It exists. Bubble reality for sure. For sure. I love it.
yes,
And that's funny you said that because my dad, he's like supposed to be retired in his company, and he will only take on jobs like if there's nobody else there. He was like, because I'll make mistakes if there are other people. It's distracting to me. And he goes, I'm just like the thing. I'm not willing to do that anymore. Like for him, he's been doing it. He's had his business forever and ever. But it's funny because he said that. He said, I got to stay in my own lane. I got to stay in my own lane. Otherwise, it's just not as fun. I'm not going to do it. If there are other people on the job, I don't, like they just distract me. I love that you said that, but that's such a good practice of being present and being so
yeah.
present with people and doing, like being present with them and what you're doing with your body, with yourself. What a great gift you've given yourself. It's such a good teacher. I feel like the universe got lines us up with teachers that
All the time,
all the time. That's super cool. That's super,
isn't it?
yeah.
Oh my gosh. And I can't wait. I can't wait for you to be on the road and to see you. Oh my gosh. And to hear that. So are you going to get like a camper and you're
No,
going to do it that way?
honestly, no, my test, I thought about it, but my car, if it's like, there's so many, I love the cabin experience and there's so many cool places that I've discovered up in Big Sur, but up in, Central Valley, and I have friends that live in a couple places. And if I need to, my car is like camp mode, so I can sleep in my car. It's very comfortable in there. It's like perfect temperature or whatever. But for the most part, I feel like I'm just going to go and follow the inspiration and just see where it takes me. And I don't think I'll be gone for, I'll come back, I'll go for a week, come back for a couple weeks, go for a week, come back, that kind of thing. That's what feels good for me.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. And I love, because that like last weekend, I just, my daughter-in-law and my grandson, I just packed them up and took them up to Big Bear, and she had no idea we were going. And I had told her we're going up to the mountains to play in the snow. And when she got here, they were not dressed properly and at all. And I was just like going, okay, well, we're going to go, but we can get back in the car if we get cold. She goes, well, where exactly are we going today? And I'm like, we're going to Big Bear, baby. And she goes, where you used to live? And I said, yeah, we're going to go play in the snow. And she's like, okay. We just did it. We just got in the car and went and had the best time. And of course, my grandbaby's just like, snow. And
play, right? Play.
I know. Play. And then get back in the car and come back. And she goes, all in one day. I'm like, why not? Absolutely. And, I love that. I love being able to do that. I love experiencing that. And of course, experiencing it through my grandbaby's eyes, which is
because they're the ones that are so like more present than any of us, right? They're just like, oh my gosh, what is there? Like, what is this in front of me? This white stuff. It's the discovery. It's the curiosity. It's the like exploration and the fun. And I love being my age, and I don't want to go back, but I definitely I think there's value in bringing in that playfulness and that silliness that kids have, because it does make life more fun. It does make it more enriching.
It really does.
Getting in the car and just following the inspiration is for me a sense of like liberation and freedom and fun. Like where are we going to go? I'm not one that I don't like to plan. I have so many friends that are like, so when are we going to get together? When do I get to see you? What's going to happen? And I'm like, we'll see. not to be disrespectful to them, or not to, but at the same time, it's like I'm trusting my impulses in the moment so strongly now, because I know how well they serve me. And if I try to get too much in my head about making things happen, and then I feel obligated, and then there's a sense of guilt if it's not my highest excitement anymore. And so I just have learned, like, following the inspiration in the moment works so well for me, and it constantly is organizing the right people, the right situations. And so that's like a huge gift that I give myself, where I just say, I don't know, we'll see where the wind takes me.
I love it. And that's why I run these podcasts this way. I always tell people, I'm like, no agenda, no topics. We're going to see what comes up, just perfectly.
Because it has its own consciousness, that it has, it has a mind of its own. So it's got an agenda that maybe that's why we just get out of the way and allow, kind of like, again, to run full circle, kind of what you did. You just can take a step back, observe, and see what new experience you can have, new conversation, new revelation, new aha, new insights.
Yeah.
That feels good.
I love it. Love it. We could just
I know we could talk forever, but I feel very satisfied, and thank you for doing this. This is fun. This is a fun time to just take an hour and 15, hour and 20, and just have a fun flow of conversation with you. Thank you for this. I appreciate it.
Thank you for just always being so, yes, let's do it.
Of course, it's going to be fun. Why wouldn't I?
I know. And thank you for bringing your friend in the background, who has just been like blowing me away.
Yeah, he's going to hang around for a little bit. I feel like he's got some fun messages to share. So see what comes up with him. But thank you for appreciating him as well. I feel honored that I got to that you gave us the opportunity to bust him out for the first time. So thank you.
Bust him out. Yes.
Well, thanks again, and I love you so much, and I look forward to connecting with you. I'll give you a heads up when I decide to come to Ventura. When in the moment, I'll be like, I'm on my way up. So,
and I'll be like, cool.
Yeah, cool.
All right, honey. I love you so much. Take care.
It was so good to see your face. Mwah.
Yes. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.